On this episode of The View from Jamestown, ocean freight and global logistics seems to dominate the headlines. The stock market's had a great run. Oil prices are trending up. We saw almost a 50% decrease in natural gas. We also have a special guest by TCC's own Kaitlyn Hagan to talk about some fiberglass stuff, but also our regulatory happenings. All that and more on The View from Jamestown. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. This is episode 103. This is the February 2024 edition. We have TCC President Rob Roach, Inside Sales Manager Nicole Greenberg, Latin American Operations Manager Javier Fernandez, and making a guest appearance, a cameo, I don't know what we want to call it, Kaitlyn Hagan. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's her title?
I was going to say, so I meant to ask you before we started recording, what is your title?
I go by Sales and Customer Service Manager.
Sales and Customer Service Manager. Perfect. For anyone watching, that'll be right here anyways, so you'll have seen it, but it's on there. Good morning. Happy February. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
But I'm the only one that got the message, so we're red here.
It's pink.
It's not St. Patrick's Day, bro. It's Valentine's Day. Yeah, I didn't know you had to wear red on.
I have festive earrings. You just can't see them.
There you go.
Exactly.
And nails. So that's how
I
I expressed it.
Oh, nice.
Well, and I will say it's tough because, I think the 100th podcast, I wore a very bright pink, hot pink shirt. Yeah. So I didn't want to repeat and reuse too often. So, the muted little.
And with Tiger's new line, Sunday Red.
Your golf.
That's true. I know. Come on.
I've been thinking about swinging the clubs, maybe getting in on this, TCC fad, with the golf stuff. But
we could start with Topgolf.
I love his logo. I love the idea, and he left Nike after 25 years?
27 years. Yeah. I've seen you hit precisely one golf shot in your whole life, and you chipped it into like a cup from like 30 feet.
I used to put a 5-gallon bucket in my yard and just chip 100 balls a day, and so I got a good short game. But my problem is, scramble would be fine. Yeah. My problem is the drive. I can't drive. I just have a baseball swing. It goes hard right. So, but maybe I'll get a lesson or something like that. Yeah,
I like it. How is everybody made out with the snow? We actually got some actual snow.
Yes, it was good
for the first time I think all winter. So it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, even Jamestown.
Hate snow. Except for the windshield washer fluid part, that's good. But we've had a good season of windshield washer fluid because it's been like snow, sleet, sleet, rain and muddy, and so it's been a good season for that.
You just need enough of something where they salt and put dirt down and stuff like that, because that's what cakes up your windows. So it doesn't really matter how much it snows. If there's a chance of snow and they actually put stuff down on the ground, that's when you need the windshield washer.
Yeah, at least we've had a lot of precipitation. It's been really wet, and whether it's snow or ice or rain, it's good. You're definitely gonna need some windshield washer fluid.
Yep. Well, before we get too far, I know Kaitlyn, you're not it's not your first podcast, but obviously it's been a little while since we've had you on. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. So I am Kaitlyn Hagan. I am involved in a lot of different areas of TCC, including sales of our fiberglass. I manage that product right now. And I also still work a little bit in customer service, doing some orders and operations, imports, things like that. And I also maintain our regulatory database of our certifications like ISO, our ACD responsible distribution, and EcoVadis certifications.
It's always fun asking people what your title is or what you do, because we all wear a lot of hats. So it's like, well, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think everyone at this table is in that boat. So.
That's a lot. That's a lot that Kaitlyn does.
It's hard to say in one sentence, that's for sure.
100%. And
then people outside of our industry would be like, well, what do you do then? They don't really understand. What's EcoVadis? What's ISO?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you got to explain what you do to friends and family. It's like, well, where should we start?
Yeah, it's a long story.
Do you have some time? No.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of jumping into it, I think the biggest thing we've seen over the last couple of weeks is, it seems like logistics and global supply chains are really playing a big role in everything. Whether folks can't get finished goods here, can't get raw materials here, certain regions doing better or worse, trying to get both finished goods and products here to the States. It seems like we spend more time thinking about ocean vessels and delays and resupplying product than we have for a long time. So I don't know if it's a welcome change, but it's certainly thrown a big wrench into a otherwise supply industry that I think we've had good supply for the last 12, 18 months. Supply has certainly outpaced demand, and that seems like it's starting to pivot a little bit.
It is. It's definitely pivoting. It's, demand is picking up, not tremendously, but the supply situation is in all theaters is getting more difficult. You start with Europe. They're having a hard time getting products from Asia, Middle East because of the Red Sea and the conflict with the Houthis, and they're shooting rockets at our ships. And then you also look at the Panama Canal. There's horrible wildfires right now in Colombia. They've had such a dry season there, and the water levels are so low that now this is compounding and the delays are getting even worse. So we're seeing a run on our products, especially those that are derived mainly from China or come mainly from China. And also we're seeing a restriction on products coming to the U.S. that normally come from Europe because it's all domestic supply now. They're having a hard time with their own imports of things from Asia and from the Middle East. So all of a sudden, the domestic producers in Europe are having a really good 2024.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely been a change to a lot of what we were seeing last year. I'm sure you're seeing a lot on the import-export side of things, yes. Whether it's requests coming into the States or some of the ocean freight stuff you're looking at.
Yeah, ocean freight is becoming an issue. It's becoming more expensive, and also other regions of the world are becoming more attractive. Due to the lead times, either for Panama Canal, Red Sea, sure. You name it, and because of the freight, now that the price is on parity, so there's a window that you can take advantage of at the moment, which I'm having fun with.
I'm sure you are. This is chaos and stress is when Javi thrives.
Yes. I love it.
When things are when stuff's available everywhere, it's like, well, I don't know, but all of a sudden you throw a couple wrenches in the supply. It's like Javi gets excited over that. The to-do list is something.
Yeah, the to-do list goes growing. Yeah, that's good.
Javi, I saw I think it was a marketing mail from either TCC or TLC about we imported more from Mexico last year than any other country. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
You called that, You said things are going to be arriving in Mexico and turned into things and coming across the border.
Yeah. The Mexico is the number one U.S. partner at the moment, commercial U.S. partner. It beat China after decades.
Wow.
So yeah, it's kind of a big deal. And I'll be there next week, so just in time to celebrate.
Subtle plug. The mayor's going to check on things down there.
Yes, I'll be there next week, so I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been to Mexico City in a while, so I usually go to other parts of Mexico, but Mexico City has been a while, so
sure.
Looking forward to it.
We'll get back to Mexico in a minute.
Okay.
I want to hear more about that. Kaitlyn, I know you mentioned the glass piece. I know that's always a fun one with, whether it's longer lead times because maybe product's not available, or obviously we're always dealing with the ocean freight side, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of the same supply hiccups, I guess, if you will, on that side too?
Yes, absolutely. The ocean freight has skyrocketed, and specifically with glass fiber, it's made essentially to order. They weave it, and that takes time too. So the lead times have been very interesting. And of course, throwing in Lunar New Year is going to, add more lead time to all these imports.
If it comes from China, of course. Yeah,
yes.
It definitely will. Yeah.
Yeah, the country shut down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Until what, the 18th?
I think something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because the festivities are like 7 to 10 days, but people getting to their own place just takes forever. So it's like a 2 weeks and a half after it's all said and done. After you start getting responses from companies, it's a while. I call it 20 days all in.
So maybe mid next week?
Yes.
Okay.
And then that obviously brings up the issue of if there's even vessels available. I mean, mid next week is one thing, but
and then keep in mind that the freight prices were increasing prior to this, and this happens every year. So if you're not planning accordingly, you might get stuck.
Yeah. I think it was Kevin that sent out that graphic, and George, I'll send it to you so we can put it up on the screen with the ocean freight reference prices. It's double what it was on Jan 1st or something like that, specific from Asia. It's amazing how that's jumped up so quickly.
Yeah,
it's a big impact.
We did some shipments from Korea, and it was like $2,800 in January for freight to the U.S. Now it's $6,800.
Wow!
So more than 2x.
Yeah,
and also they're in holidays, so expect 7+ next week.
And then it still won't load for a month.
No. It's just it's like a bidding. It's like a bidding war. To to load the ship. It's interesting times in Asia.
And that goes back to, if you're planning your supply chain with as much lead time as you can, look at if you can wait, if you're planning now for April, you'll be okay. But if you need stuff,
in March,
40 days out, you're gonna pay for it.
But then you gotta look at the suppliers on this side of the world.
Yep.
So that the quicker lead times, 2 weeks from Colombia, 6 weeks, 5 weeks from Chile, Brazil. It's a dynamic time at the moment.
Yeah, even if the product pricing maybe was a little more expensive historically, now all of a sudden with freight, like you said,
it's on par.
On par.
Mm-hmm. On par, and you get it quicker from Latin America.
Yep.
All of a sudden, Javi's real popular.
Yes.
Not that you weren't popular before, but
yeah. We've heard a lot of issues coming out of Europe too with short changing domestic, U.S. when they're shipping over large parcels of 1,500, 2,000 tons. Now they're only getting 800 tons, less product coming, this way. So, it's happening as well. And the cost to ship across the Atlantic is increased tremendously as well.
Yeah.
So, it's a further restriction on supply for, what we've normally depended on.
And even if it's not the actual DIMP or DOTP or whatever the product is that's coming here, it's the raw material to make that product, whether it's going to Europe or if it's going to Latin America. Like you said, Latin America is the net importer.
Yes.
Right? So they need to get their raw materials from somewhere too. So it's it really, when you really look at the supply chain, it's amazing how they can get backed up so far so quickly.
The Europeans are known too. I mean, it used to be $100-$150 a ton to get something here in bulk, and now it's $300 a ton. Why not sell it locally?
Yep.
And not have that expense, import duty expense to come across the Atlantic. And they do that very quickly. They switch and they want to sell it locally very quickly. So this is having an impact on our business as well.
Well, and we're also coming out of a time, especially in Europe, where people were shutting down plants or turning down plants because supply has been slow, or demand has been slow to end last year. So all of a sudden there's maybe a little more interest in making more product, but that's not an overnight change. You got to maybe ramp back up a little bit.
That's right.
Companies laying people off, maybe don't even have the people to man the plants that now you need. So
that's right.
Crazy times. We talked about the weather a little bit. Obviously we got our first kind of big snowstorm down here in southern New England. Seems like it's been a relatively slow kind of snow year, specific to up here. I know we're talking about methanol and windshield wash fluid and things like that. But hopefully an uptick. And like you were saying, we're still kind of in the middle of winter, so we still got some time for some more snow up this way, and driving both methanol demand and some potential issues on the freight side of things. So
right now we're in the fertilizer demand season. We've been in that since December, so we've been shipping a lot of different products for crop nutrition. So it's usually several months behind that you're looking at a demand cycle for. I mean, even the windshield wash, it really starts in August, September, with probably the height of demand around October, November. Yep. So we're waning in the winter seasonal demand and looking forward to spring. I think we're all looking forward to spring.
Little side on Nicole there.
As much as I love the snow in the winter, I like it from December through end of February, early March, and then it's time to change the seasons. We've got 4 of them in New England for a reason.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's been a late winter lately.
Yeah, it seems like that's the norm. It's getting later and later. We've had some snowstorms in like early April, I think, in the past.
Yep.
Like, it's just kind of the way the world's pivoting, I guess.
Well, golf season gets extended through November? Even
sometimes December.
The course by me opened up this past weekend.
Yeah, when we were moving, I drove by a couple courses as we're going, and you can see people walking, playing.
It was packed. Packed. So
I don't hate it. So I know we have talked about Mexico a little bit. I know you said you're heading down there in next week.
Yes,
you're going
Monday morning.
How's things going kind of in general with Mexico, Latin America?
Demand is picking up.
Yeah.
Overall, demand's picking up. It's not, how can I say it? The demand's picking up overall. So things are rearranging the geographies where people are getting stuff. So it's just just in time is not a thing anymore, but closer geographies for getting your raw materials is a thing.
Yeah. Now
with Asia, 10 weeks out.
Yep. You got more customer side, more supplier side, a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. It's a mix. People are looking to sell also in the U.S. People are looking to buy out of the U.S. It's just it's interesting times.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously you were competing a lot with Asia when the 25% tariff came into effect, and maybe you see a little bit less of that now if you can't get stuff here from Asia. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it has been so far, knock on wood, it's been a good run.
Yep.
It's been very active overall.
WhatsApp is busy.
WhatsApp is busy. Yes, it's busy. It's a busy platform for me.
Go at the beginning like a EDM song or something. When you hit that a couple times.
WhatsApp me.
I like it. Might be the new intro to. Might have to revamp our podcast.
Oh,
intro
I like
music.
that. Throw it in every so often.
I like it. Thinking about the stock market stuff too. I know we always kind of correlate what's going on with economic data and the Fed and the stock market to how we're seeing industry and things like that. Obviously, the S&P reached, I think it was 5,000 for the first time ever since we recorded last. Seems like the economic data in general seems relatively positive still. The Fed has mentioned delaying any kind of rate cuts, and we'll keep rates kind of high for a while, which will impact new housing starts and the housing market and demand for houses and all that good stuff. So obviously something we keep a close eye on, as a lot of what we sell is going into those kinds of markets. So it'll be interesting to see if the optimism continues. Inflation seems like it's continuing to come off. Be interesting to see what happens with any potential rate cuts and demand on the housing side. I think we got a lot to keep an eye on.
Yeah, all eyes on AI and weight loss drugs right now. That's pretty much where the money's at. So unbelievable, incredible, historic run. On par with the 90s, the late 90s is what we're seeing right now. And that's pretty common knowledge. I think it's an election year. I keep talking about this, and Joe's going to make sure that the economy is doing well and that everything's propped up. But the bigger picture is what I really pay attention to. And I've noticed that, China recently, the Shenzhen has come up quite a bit, and I'm seeing a lot of green in the stock markets in China. There definitely some stimulus going on there, and that's what I'm really paying attention to, because their demand has to increase in order for all ships to start floating here. So,
sure.
But yeah, I mean as far as like a decrease or a rate cut, I don't think so. We're seeing. I don't know whatever you want to call it, but global temperature changes, global weather patterns, global, whatever you want to call it, is impacting goods. Geopolitical is impacting the movement of goods.
Sure.
Costs are rising. So there's a lot of challenges, and so I don't know that I'm more bearish that there's going to be a decrease anytime soon, but bullish that the market's going to continue to rise, because there's a lot of investment that's coming from the federal government, and in terms of our infrastructure and things like that. We're seeing really low finished good inventories and less pressure from Asia dumping goods in here and Europe as well, because of their absolutely horrible demand. So as far as the stock market goes, as much as everybody wants to jump in NVIDIA, Eli Lilly, probably still a good idea, I guess, but you really want to look at, the small caps and the foreign markets in your 401k and things like that. So, and, all of this has an impact on our business. That's why we talk about it. But yeah, it's been quite the run. It's been awesome. Being a financial background guy, this is you don't see this very often.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, between what's happened in the stock market, you mentioned the election year will obviously play a big role, both in just general consumer optimism, some of this infrastructure stuff. Obviously, like you said, a lot of this impacts our business in terms of, once some of this infrastructure money starts flowing, you see more and more orders for things in that realm. So be interesting to see what happens here for the coming weeks and months with all that. There's a lot.
There's a lot going on. I mean, just yesterday, the seat in the House that was, I forget his name, the guy that got kicked out, was filled by a Democrat. As much as I am pro a balanced government, I think we need a strong Republican and a Democratic Party. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Biden's going to get reelected in November because of the abortion issue. People are going to go out and vote with, when it comes to the abortion issue, number one. So, the economy is doing well. All these things, the gas prices are down.
Yep.
I mean, they're working very hard to manipulate what they can.
Sure.
And, right now we can talk about, Trump versus Biden and their age and everything, but unless something major happens, people are going to go out and vote the abortion issue. That's my call.
Sure.
And that's going to be, and that's what happened in New York. I mean, people are going out and they're unhappy. We're all unhappy with government. There's no doubt about it. I don't think whoever runs the country is going to have that much of an impact or a change on our feelings towards government right now. But I mean, this is going to be an interesting year.
Yep. I'm always amazed too when you come back from like Mexico, Latin America. Like it's amazing how much the rest of the world watches when we have elections. And like
everyone asks you, like
some of these guys know more about it than we do when we live here.
It's open. It's open. They ask you like who's going to win? What do you think? I mean, it's a because it takes it's a driver on their business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's always amazing how that they know more about it than
Yes.
You do and follow it closely.
You know how it is.
Yeah. It's really always pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How, like we talk about it because obviously we live here and it's our government and whatnot, but it really is amazing how much it plays a role in the rest of the world.
The world economy.
It does.
Yeah.
It does in the world economy.
As far back as EPCA, we were there. We were sitting in EPCA and I was sort of, it was like a gut punch every time somebody said it because I wasn't expecting to answer about the election. I mean, it's a year away, more than a year of the way when we were in Europe. And but everybody seemed to have this thing. But what's going to happen? We have an impact on the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Very much so.
I vividly remember, God, maybe it was like 6+ months ago after you came back from, I think it was Mexico, again, having the same conversation on the podcast. I mean, it's like just revisiting it.
And we're just getting closer.
Yep.
We sure are. Well, moving on, I don't remember if we had him on the January episode or not, but we've got as we're talking about how much ocean freight and global logistics are really playing a big role, we've got obviously our friends at TLC to give a bit of a freight update. So we'll give it over to them. Morning, Joe. Morning, Jamie. How you guys doing?
Morning, Ben. Good. Morning, Ben.
How's everything going?
Good. Getting back to reality after the snow day yesterday. So
it doesn't count being festive for Valentine's Day when your colors are red anyways, right?
Yeah.
You guys, you get a cop out on Valentine's Day.
Festive every day.
Yeah, but exactly. Valentine's Day and Christmas fit right in.
Nailed
Nailed it. How's things going in the world of logistics these days? Things are cranking. Things are moving.
Yeah, I'd say start to Q1 is pretty strong. Yeah. I think after the holidays we kind of get that little bump when everybody officially comes back to work. So yeah, January, February are looking really good so far. Hoping the trend continues. I mean, we're really hoping that we don't see kind of a repeat of last year's cycle, which was everyone feeling great January, February, and then kind of standing around in March, April wondering what happened. So definitely hoping the trend continues. Yeah,
I just sort of realized as you said that, it's obviously Valentine's Day, February 14th, so that's really the midpoint of Q1. It's crazy that we're already at this point. Feels like we're still sort of catching up after New Year's. So, Jamie, what's going on your side? How are things?
I think they're going pretty well overall. As Joe said, January was definitely up to start the year. I think we had a little bit of a dip at the beginning of February, but now it seems like we're catching back up a bit. Yep. Taking a look at just things overall, fuel seems to be going back up.
Yep.
Just by a few points at least the last 3 weeks or so. So just something to keep an eye on with rates of all forms, liquid bulk especially, but obviously it'll bleed into dry van rates too.
And usually you see gas prices get more expensive kind of like springtime, right? Because you're coming back to driving season, so it's a little early for that seasonality piece of it, I guess. Are you guys seeing stuff? You said January and February have been decent. Are you seeing more things stronger on dry van, LTL? Has it kind of been across the board, or what are the hot things? Anything stand out that's stronger than others, or?
Yeah, I think once we get a little bit further out from the holidays, LTL kind of normalizes a little bit. I think all those carriers are starting to see that it's a little bit more manageable. Dry van prices definitely starting to trend upward, which is kind of a good indicator of where the economy is headed. Again, hopefully that continues through to March, April, and so forth. But I mean, anything coming out of the Northeast back down south is still pretty strong as far as capacity goes. So looking at hopefully continue that trend for sure.
Yeah, and we're seeing it on the TCC side. I mean, business has been pretty strong January and February kind of across the board. We're starting to see some hints of price increases, back from Feb 1 and then starting to think about March 1, April 1 increases on a lot of things. So whether that's a sign of just things getting more expensive or, supply improving or whatever the case might be,
right.
We're seeing things will be more expensive, I think, come March, whether it's the product side or the freight side.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, especially in the chemical side, when all the trade shows, conferences all start kicking off and get a bunch of sales guys together, they'll start drumming up some opportunities, I'm sure, right?
That's the idea.
Yeah.
That's the idea. That's what my boss keeps telling me. So
that's why we go.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan. I think one of the hot topics, no matter what you do these days, is ocean freight. Whether it's trying to get stuff to the States, out of the States, getting raw materials somewhere to make something to then come to the States. It's amazing how far the impacts of some of this freight stuff really trickle down between the Red Sea and Panama Canal and whatnot. So I'm sure that's throwing you guys for a little bit of a loop the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, it's certainly continuing to be an issue if anybody was depending on that supply. I think that just goes back to trying to, forecast properly and no one really saw the Red Sea turning as disastrous as it has, but that secondary supply certainly helps. And if we said, I think on a podcast or two, if you have any Latin American support, South American support, this is when you're probably, in a much better position if you're not really depending on those European suppliers as much.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It brings a lot of those conversations of reshoring back up, tighten up your supply chains as best you can. You've seen people getting kind of creative with working around these ocean freight issues, or is it just kind of is what it is and there's delays? Or
I think for the most part, you're kind of just stuck where you are. I mean, obviously, a lot of people, to Joe's point, are looking at Latin American supply, looking at different supply options, whether it's Mexico, Latin America, domestic, wherever they can.
Yep.
But I mean, I think a lot of it will just come down to, if the Panama Canal's busy, then you're bringing a lot more into the West Coast, into Long Beach, into Tacoma, wherever you're bringing in, rather than, trying to go from China to the Gulf or something like that.
Yep.
Which in some ways it kind of made more sense to do that to begin with. But I mean, it's just going to have a trickle down effect onto the rail and things from there.
I was going to say, so that's going to trickle down to rail, if you're shipping intermodal, trucks in and out of, I can't imagine Tacoma, Washington is a massive truck hub compared to like the Mobiles and Houstons of the world. So it'll maybe strain things downstream from that too.
Yeah, I mean, the Mexican border was already an issue. So if you do have any supply coming in, I think that's, potentially a gateway that needs to be looked at for sure. I mean, this is, 100%. A time that when we're looking at infrastructure that needs to be addressed, because, you clearly can't count on, the overseas to supply your whole economy. So,
Yep.
I was just going to say, I think we were already talking about something the other day, Joe, you and I were. I think Mexico is one of the highest supply partners right now of the U.S.
Yeah, I think they just took it over, right? I think it was
think so.
Canada, now it's Mexico, something like that.
Well, China was for a long time, but I think
maybe that's what it was, China. Yeah.
So Mexico has certainly come to the forefront. It's and they even have I was reading an article the other day that says that all the issues that the truckers are having is potentially costing the economy $95 billion, which, for the biggest economy, it's probably a drop in the bucket, but still, if we could, get some efficiencies there, that certainly would help everybody.
I'd love to know where that $95 billion figure comes from. I want to see the math. I'm sure it's probably close to accurate, knowing, how many economists work for the federal government and whatnot, but I'd love to see the math.
The statisticians, we'll cook it however it makes the argument that much better for them.
True.
Sure.
What else is keeping you guys busy? That kind of the stuff seems like stuff's just busy across the board. People are doing a little bit better than maybe this time last year, moving more freight, raw materials, finished goods, whatever the case might be. Seems like just in general, the economy's doing all right, and you guys are seeing the results of that.
Anybody who had inventory that they didn't dump in, October, November, December, certainly looking like a rock star right now.
Sure.
They might have been getting some grief, to clear up some year-end stuff last year. But if you have any inventory now, you're able to recoup whatever you were potentially losing. So I think it's just a matter of backfilling in that material. So
sure.
We're getting requests to see other opportunities to, kind of subverse the Red Sea potential. So it's a good time to be in logistics.
Yep. And you guys are traveling a little bit here, right? Coming up, I guess we'll have one more episode pre AFPM, but you guys got some stuff coming up over the coming months.
Yeah, I got SACMA down in Nashville next week, so we'll be in attendance there early next week, and then AFPM after that. So, and then it's 1 to 2 a month from there on out.
Yep.
So,
yep. And Jamie's making his debut at AFPM, right? First time going.
Yeah. First time down to AFPM. First time to San Antonio. So,
meeting stacking up.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Joe, Jamie, appreciate it as always. We'll see what happens with some of these ocean freight concerns and where we sit this time next month. We'll get a little pre-AFPM update. It's always nice to chat kind of pre-AFPM, see kind of what the hot topics are going to be and what folks are talking about, and then obviously see how many other people are talking about that post-AFPM and do a little recap. So look forward to that, and we'll see you guys soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
Sounds good. Thanks,
guys. All right, moving on, price updates and trends. We obviously are keeping as we always do, a close eye on oil and gas prices. We've seen a big run up in benzene for the first 2 weeks of the month, which has been really, really interesting, plus 60 cents or so, which is a big jump, obviously. Tracking propylene trending up, butanol 2EH trending up. Things are on the rise, it seems like, for whether was from some increases from Feb 1 or certainly probably for March or April 1. We're seeing things increasing.
Yeah, we're seeing those letters.
Yes.
We're seeing those letters.
It's been a long time since we've seen...
It's been a long time since we've seen those letters, so...
I mean, I would go out and say I don't even know if we saw one for 2023, aside from like FM letters, if there were any. I mean, it was price increase letters. It's been a while.
It's been a while, yes.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
That was the only one, I think, and that was due to the fire and explosion at Dow. And yeah, that was the only one that I can recall. But yeah, it's just, propylene has steadily moved, has climbed. Just heard of another outage last week and another increase, forthcoming. And benzene, this is a traded product, and freight, I'm sure, has having an impact on that. A lot of benzene now comes from other Asia, not China, but, Southern Asia. And, if you can't get through that Panama Canal or you can't get through the Red Sea and the costs are going up, it's going to impact it. So I would say buy now. Increase your inventories a little bit and put a safety stock in place.
Good time to stock up on a Dippic if you can take it, and something else that's benzene.
The only thing I've seen that has really cratered is natural gas. And
big time.
Oh yeah, I mean we're coming off the demand season for heating homes and things like that, but yeah, that's been a big drop. That's down to $1.67, I think.
So oil and gas. I mean, crude oil and Brent crude were both up about $6. Crude's around 77, Brent's around 82. Natural gas is down $1.31 from the last time we recorded, which is almost 50%.
Right,
which is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's a big drop.
Yeah, it's a big drop. I mean, we are fracking like crazy. We are producing more oil now in the USA than Saudi Arabia.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. I mean, we are exporting the heck out of this stuff. We are making it. We are just yesterday. I mean, there was a massive purchase of a individual fracking company, $26 billion that was bought in the Permian Basin, West Texas. It ebbs and flows, but when it flows, wow. And when every time that you pull a gallon of crude out, you're getting natural gas, you're getting methane, you're getting the mix, you're getting it. So we are overloaded with natural gas right now. We've got a lot of it.
And that's an interesting thing too. I have an article on my computer that I have like bookmarked to read that I haven't read yet, but the title was something about like energy M&A, like companies that are buying other energy companies and oil companies and things like that. It's like a big game of musical chairs. Like people just keep buying and selling these companies and assets and moving Exxon and people moving these things all around. I'll find it and send it to you guys. But it's casual $26 billion. Like the money involved in it is amazing.
It's unbelievable.
But yeah, I think the moral of the story between potentially some supply issues, whether it's freight or oil trickling up or benzene trickling up, I mean we're going to see prices moving upwards, whether it's March 1, April 1. I think you talk to customers. I know I've talked to customers like, yeah, we're expecting increased letters. Haven't seen some yet for certain products, but people are kind of bracing for it. It seems like
Yeah, we're also going into sort of a ramp up for the gasoline demand season, which, there's going to be probably a heavy demand season right now. People are traveling like crazy, so they're expecting that. So, sometimes there's a shift to making fuels versus making chemicals, and we'll see that in the coming months. So that should have an impact as well. Another recent trend that sort of came out at the vinyl conference, and we're seeing it now in data points, is the exodus away from electric cars.
Yeah,
this has been really interesting because this has been a big concern in our industry about supply to cars, petrol cars versus electric cars. Wholeheartedly, people are now completely eliminating the idea of buying and are going back to either hybrid or straight petrol cars very quickly. So that trend is over, and it's going to have a major impact on our business as well. And we're starting to see it in automotive. Yeah. It's starting to pick up just because of the supply matrix to a petrol or hybrid car versus an electric car. Yeah. So this is something that's going to have a significant impact, and people should pay attention to in our industry.
Yeah, the most amazing stat, I remember it vividly from that, is not the percentage of new cars or who's buying new cars. It's the percentage of people that bought an electric car and then their next car was not. You think if you go electric, you're going to stay electric. There was like 60% of people buying electric, and then they go back to that. Like it was a crazy number.
It's really amazing to see the impact of trends on people's purchase power. And then once they try it, they don't like the inconvenience of it and they abandon it. Yep. So you have to ride that wave, that trend wave. It's hard to predict when people will actually take a look at this and say, well, this doesn't really work for me. I can't fly from here to Chicago and pick up a Tesla at Hertz and guarantee that I can go to a Fairfield Inn and find a charger. I'm not gonna take one. Yep. So Hertz just abandoned their Teslas, and they're not pushing it. It was always the first car on the top, right?
Yep, it was.
Or whatever car company you used to rent, it was always like electric car.
It's like, this
how
great
the heck
deal.
am I supposed to? Yeah, how the heck am I supposed to rent an electric car if I don't even know where I'm going to have a charger? They put the cart before the horse. They didn't have the system in place.
Especially if you don't own one. Like if you're not used to finding a charger. Like if you own a Tesla and you want to go rent a Tesla, that's one thing. But if you've never had one before, like you're not used to thinking about the mileage and stuff, like that's a crazy spot to put a consumer in.
Yep.
I think we'll see more of that. And obviously that impacts our industry a lot based on what's happening with oil prices, or even just, there's a big trend for a while, people looking for lighter polymers and, reducing the weight in the cars so that they could go further on the battery power and things like that. So we've certainly seen it from our direct customers too. It's amazing how far up the supply chain that, a lot of that goes.
It is.
Thinking about some trade show stuff, it's mid-February, so we're sort of at a, January usually pretty quiet on the trade show front a lot of times. So we obviously got AFPM coming up quickly. We'll do probably one more sort of pre-AFPM episode, but that's coming up quickly. I know the meeting schedule looks like it's getting pretty busy.
Yeah.
Our cocktail party, I think we're at like 240, something like that.
This year, I feel like people started with meetings and RSVPing to things at a rate that I've never seen before.
Either a lot more people are coming, or everyone's just way more prepared this year.
Exactly. Well, and it might be a combination of both, to be honest. I think everyone getting out, traveling, wanting to see customers, suppliers, and maintain those relationships is really, contributing to that. Yeah. So, I mean, it's great. It's great to see it.
Yep.
That's going to be quite a party.
I think so.
I mean, we're a month and a half away and 240 RSVPs already. Yep. That doesn't include us either.
No. And I think we're about 15, 17 TCC. Yeah.
Yeah. Last year, I think we had 290 or so as of like a couple days before when we sort of cut it off. And obviously we had more people come and just register at the time or whatnot. But, if we're in the threes anytime prior to actually getting down there, we're
prior to March. Let's just put it that, but it's not even month of, and we're
How about your golf outing on Saturday? I mean, that's pretty full too.
Yeah, looking good. Yeah, it's looking good. I guess I got to put a spot on hold for you. So
I'll just be there. I'll just be there to harass.
It's a scramble. It's your jam. Come on.
I don't want to embrace myself.
No, we're gonna work
driving.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it. All right. But yeah, we got spots for the golf, which is always a great Saturday kickoff. So make the week a little longer, but it's always a nice time to get out and see everyone and sort of a casual pre.
Oh, it's pre-kickoff. It's really nice. It really is. It's a nice time. look forward to it every year.
And obviously you'll be there this year, so I don't have to give the speech at the party. We can pass that baton back.
Yes,
pass that baton back
barring
to you.
any unforeseen, things that happen with family, I'll be there. So you never know. And knock on wood, everything's so far so good.
Yep. Yeah, looking forward to it. So AFPM, and then we've obviously got the coding show and NPE, which we're quite deep in planning for. So those are, it's a busy year, busy couple months on the trade show and travel front, but a lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff we're looking forward to. It always seems like there's a trend that goes on, especially kind of leading up to AFPM, that that's going to sort of be the topic. And I forget what last year's was, but it seems like we talk a lot about the freight side of things. It seems like kind of global supply and the freight side will be a hot topic at the AFPM for sure.
For sure.
Absolutely.
How's your meeting schedule looking, Javi?
I have 5 spots left. And a dinner left.
Look at you.
So it's filling up quick.
How many meetings before 10 a.m.?
I have like 4.
Wow, Javi, look
one
at
day,
you.
One day I start at 8:30. Other day I start at 8.
This Central Time.
Central Time.
That's how you know your schedule's filling up when you're booking up meetings.
It's 9, 8:30. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll do it.
Love
I like it.
Yeah, but I was talking to Luan next door, and he's like, "Yeah, it's filling up quick," and it's only 5 spots. Yeah. And I'm actually doing a Tuesday afternoon. I have a 3, 4, and 5.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Javi, look at you.
I might be free will.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, Luan was funny at one point. Like, I think at one point they scheduled us to the point where like every time slot had at least one meeting. Like usually we have like 4 or 5 for each one. So at one point there was 8 to 5, and then dinner there was a meeting every single day. Luan's like, "Wow, the schedule's full." I'm like, "Oh no, you haven't seen nothing yet. Once there's 5 items for each time, then we're full." So.
Yep.
Cool. Well, wrapping things up while we have Kaitlyn, I know we like to talk about, obviously big trend with things like EcoVadis and ISO and NACD certifications. I know it comes up a whole lot more. So there's no other better person in the company to give an explanation of what's going on and what we've got going on that front than yourself. So I know there's beginning of the year, there's always a big push to kind of recertify some of these things and make sure things are up to date for this calendar year and whatnot. So what's keeping you busy on that front these days?
Yes, it is regulatory crunch time right now. So currently we have submitted all our documentation for EcoVadis. That's an annual rating. So we submitted all the documents for that. And if you're not familiar with EcoVadis, it's a sustainability rating based on 4 different pillars of sustainability, including environmental, labor and human rights, sustainability, and there's one more piece that's escaping me. But we submitted the documentation for that and should have our 2024 medal within, I'd say, 4 to 6 weeks by now.
I like that. Not a rating, not a level. You get your medal. You get your medal.
We get our medal.
I love it.
Yes.
Do we get an actual medal, or is just?
We get.
I think
it's like a graphic medal,
okay.
not a physical medal.
Okay, I'm just
Believe me, if we had a physical medal, it'd be here.
The Olympics are coming up. That's why.
Hey, I'll suggest it.
You should get like the touchdown change for football. Like just get a thing. Have Rob roll in a
or wrestling belt.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
What are we shooting for?
So for 2023, we had silver. And based on that rating, we were 4 points away from gold. So the goal is really getting gold. I almost was hoping that we'd get it live and I could kind of give a drum roll live announcement, but not today. But it's coming. So you'll see our 2024 rating soon. The next one coming up is
But before we go to the next one, I feel like that EcoVadis one comes up a lot. I feel like I get asked more about EcoVadis than any of the other.
Yeah, everyone asks you, like, what's your EcoVadis? Are you on EcoVadis? I was like, yes, we are.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
It's becoming very popular because it's globally recognized. I mean, even big companies.
Didn't it start in Europe?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the first place I ever heard of it. Was one of our Reach products was registered products was in Europe, and the customer asked about EcoVadis, and this had to be 10 years ago probably. And I said, I've never heard anything about this. So its origin was in Europe and it's very quickly grown worldwide.
And I think it's still very primarily we get a lot more interest from European suppliers and customers, but we've seen more and more of it in the States the last 2-3 years. It seems like for sure.
It's becoming very popular in the States.
Yes. And then our second one is the ACD's responsible distribution. So as ACD members, we participate in their Responsible Distribution Verification Program.
Formerly the NACD.
Formerly the NACD. I still use some interchangeably. I try to get in the habit of using their new branding, but it's very similar to what responsible care would be in the chemical industry. What responsible care is for chemical manufacturers is what responsible distribution is for distributors like us. So they also have a very strong emphasis on the environmental health, safety, and security, to the point where if you are EcoVadis bronze or higher, which we are, we get to skip a whole section in our verification for sustainability. So they work in tandem, and it helps to have them to, show you're environmentally health and safety, sustainable, all the good stuff.
And that's just an annual certification. There's no levels.
It's actually every 3 years, but there is no levels. It's just a standard seal of approval. And that's upcoming next week. I'll be heading to Philly to do our verification visit there of one of our terminals. And then finally is our ISO certification. We are going towards ISO 9001. We currently have 14,001 as well, but we'll have both. So 9001 is the quality management system based on the quality of our service here at TCC. And our 14,001 is related to the environmental health, safety, and security. So they all kind of work in tandem to show that we are a quality-focused and environmentally focused organization.
Well, I'll tell you what, it takes a certain kind of person to keep all those things straight in your head. So that's the organization there is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
A lot of good stuff and a lot of important stuff. It is amazing how much all that really comes up, more and more frequent. Suppliers, customers, warehouses, you name it. It's amazing how much it comes up.
Yeah, well, I just read an article the other day in the Wall Street Journal that ESG, which this is part of, is actually fading a little bit, and it's moving more towards profitability and streamlining. So it is, in my opinion, all of this is extremely important, and we're going to continue to stick with it. Yeah. But big companies kind of see it as a lot of big companies kind of see it as a side thing, or, not necessarily, when things get tough, these things got put on the back burner, and last year was tough for our industry. Yeah. So when things really are good, they become far more important and valuable. We're kind of more consistent. We've always seen this. We were ISO 9001 before. We went to 14,000. Started very early on with EcoVadis. Have changed our company to the better, to fit the EcoVadis mode. But yeah, I mean, it's from January to March, the amount of paperwork that these guys have to do, I mean, it's amazing. And the amount of effort that goes into it, and it's mainly Kaitlyn, but there's other people involved as well. So hats off to them. It is a lot to keep. It's a mouthful to keep straight. So
and I would be surprised at some point if there is a new certification body that maybe ties more in profitability and the ESG side and brings them together and things like that. EcoVadis came up however many years it's been relatively recently.
Well, I think they are tied in. I mean, if you're not acting responsibly in all those roles, then your profitability will be impacted.
Sure.
So it does go together. We're not BlackRock over here, but we're definitely we feel that there's a value here, and and safety is so important for us, our customers, and our producing partners. To have zero environmental impact is so important, short term and long term. And we don't want to have a negative impact on anyone. That's for sure.
Yep. Well, just wrapping things up, I think a lot of this is probably tied in together, but if it'll go out by the time this episode comes out, but I know we do a kind of semi-annual note to the industry, which we title View from the Captain's Chair, which is always a really nice note from Rob, just with his 2 cents on what's happening with TCC, kind of a TCC update and what's happening in the market. So if you haven't already gotten that, you should see that, or it'll be up on the website. But I'm sure a lot of what you just mentioned will all be in there. But any kind of final thoughts from that note there?
No, it was a good. I thought it was a good summary of a lot of what we discuss here. And short, concise, and to the point. And it's just another way of getting our message out. It's not necessarily marketing; it's more what we're seeing going on, and we're hoping that this will help our constituents make decisions. And that's where the basis of our company really started, was give the proper information, make the right forecasts to your producing partners, and help your customers, solve a problem more than anything. And that's what, this message is about, what we see. And I mean, you go around this table and you talk about the thing, or you look at the past, you look at the podcasts we've done just in the last 6 months, some of the things that we've talked about have been so evident and true now. Yeah. So we see things as a smaller company in this very big industry, we see things first. And so hopefully it helps people. I think that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like we're sitting here crunching a bunch of numbers and analyzing things before we come on and record. We kind of just talk like, what we're seeing, what our gut feels kind of, hearing. I heard this from a customer yesterday, and all that info, you put all that together, it kind of creates what we're seeing. And, you put that out there and try to, benefit suppliers, customers, business partners, everyone involved. That's, another way we're here to.
Our marketing folks do a good job.
We try. We try. Speaking of marketing folks, did you see our new customer giveaways here?
No. What is this?
For the month
I love cozy socks.
For the month of February
only. I love a Dippic. I love urea.
You get a custom pair of socks.
Can I have these?
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
Hold it up to the camera right there.
Thank you so much.
Place an order the month of February. Complimentary pair of socks. Got the website on the foot.
Yeah.
So we did a pair of the I Heart Urea socks a couple of years ago now, and the idea was to do them for all our core products, and we sort of didn't do any more of them. And AJ actually had a customer the other day like, hey, do you guys do another batch of the I Heart Urea socks? Like someone actually asked for them. So I'm like, all right, we'll get some more done.
Yeah.
So,
these are nice too, high quality. I mean, they look like my Cabela's socks, know. So and being as cold as it is outside, I'll definitely use those.
No better time than the present.
And I do love a Dippic, and I do love urea. So thank you very much.
Cool. Well, I think that's all we got. That was a good episode. A lot going on. A lot to. Seems like I always say there's always a lot going on, but there definitely is. There's a lot of things to kind of wrap your head around, and really good time to start planning your supply chains for. You should be looking at April, May at this point. It's a good time to start thinking about as best you can what you're going to need come spring, because it's going to be here before you know it.
It is.
Well, as always, we appreciate you for listening. Thank you all for your time this morning. Kaitlyn, thank you for joining us. Nice to have you, and we'll have you here again soon. But as always, we appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you, Benny.
Thanks, Benny.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Benny.
Material contained on this podcast is provided by the chemical company solely for informational purposes. The information is not guaranteed to be correct, complete, or up to date. The information in the podcast is intended solely as a general education aid. TCC is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of TCC policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by TCC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Views and opinions expressed by TCC employees are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the view of TCC or any of its officials. All statements, comments, and opinions presented are made in the context of robust dialogue and freedom of expression. TCC assumes no responsibility for any consequence relating directly or indirectly to any action or inaction taken based on the information in this podcast. While TCC strives to keep the information on the podcast accurate, complete, and up to date, we cannot guarantee and will not be responsible for any damage or loss related to the accuracy, completeness, or timeliness of the information. TCC assumes no liability for any errors or omissions in the content of this podcast. The information contained on the podcast is provided entirely on an as-is basis with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness. Thank you for streaming the View from Jamestown podcast edition.
Like and subscribe for more.